First-time founders worry about product. Second-time founders worry about distribution. What is the distribution innovation that you're going to bring to the market that's going to cause people to become aware of your product? And you need to focus at least half your time on that.
Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike Michalowicz. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this. And it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike Michalowicz works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. Don't forget, second Thursday, every single month in 2023, we've got Q&A calls, Ask Me Anything, Profit First, Business Strategy, Business Equation, something you heard on the podcast, anything about your business, we'll chat. It's all free. Get all the answers you want. Let me ask you a question. What would you prefer? To make your own mistakes or learn from someone else's mistakes? I prefer to learn from others' mistakes. Would you prefer to take years to learn wisdom or take a shortcut and learn wisdom from those ahead of you? Today, we've got a serial entrepreneur on who has built 2 multi-million-dollar businesses to share his lessons and his wisdom to help get you there faster and have an easier journey. Listen in as he shares how he dealt with many of the issues we all face as we grow and scale and need to consistently drive revenue. Bryan's background was in the landscaping industry. He had no prior experience in software development, but he knew that technology could solve many of his pain points in his industry, such as inefficient scheduling, unreliable service providers, and inconsistent pricing. So he set out to teach himself how to code, spent hours and hours reading books, watching online tutorials, and experimenting with various development tools until he was able to build the first version of GreenPal. Let's meet Bryan, see how he did it, the wisdom he learned, and what we can take away and utilize in our business. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Bryan Clayton. It's great to have you join us today.
Rocky, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Most welcome. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
Sure. So my name's Bryan Clayton. I am CEO of a company called GreenPal. GreenPal is a mobile app that is like the Uber, but for lawn mowing services. So if you need a grass cutting service, rather than like calling around all over Facebook or Craigslist or something, just download GreenPal, pop your address in, and you'll get hooked up with a great lawn mowing professional in a couple of minutes, and they come out and take care of your grass cutting for you. If it all goes well, you just set it up, and this happens like clockwork in the background.
Out of curiosity, did you just kind of steal the idea from Uber and bring it to your business?
Well, Uber inspired me. You could definitely say that. I actually, my first company was a lawn mowing business. I started mowing grass in high school as a way to make extra cash, and stuck with a little lawn mowing business through high school and through college. And when I graduated college from with a business degree, I made a little business plan to make my little lawn mowing business into an actual company. And over a 15-year period of time, built that into like a $10 million a year business. 150 employees, one of the larger landscaping companies in the state of Tennessee. And then 2013, that business was acquired by a national company in the industry that had thousands of employees. And so after that, after I sold the business, I kind of took some time off, quite frankly, got bored. And I thought, well, I want to start another business. And I thought, well, this landscaping company was super hard. It almost killed me. I don't want to do anything that hard again. I want to start an easy business. So I'm going to start a tech company because that'll be so much easier. And I was kind of seduced into the idea of how awesome it would be to have a technology business with not a bunch of nagging employees and equipment and customers, and you just sit behind a laptop all day, and kind of like The Social Network, the movie or something. And little did I know it was going to be 10 times harder than I thought. But it was kind of naivete as an asset. And so here I am, 2013, 14, and seeing what Uber's doing, Airbnb, these kinds of apps. And I thought, man, it's amazing what they're doing, making like real world experiences happen with the touch of a button. Because up until then, websites and apps and technology was more like atoms. It was more like bits. It wasn't atoms. And so up until when Uber came around, where atoms would move around, like things would actually happen in the real world when you pushed a button. That was inspiring to me. And I thought, well, somebody's going to build an app to make the lawn mowing business as easy as just pushing a button. So why not? Why can't that be me? And recruited 2 co-founders, and we started working on what the idea was. And it took about 3 or 4 years to get some momentum going, but now we're like a 10-year, 11-year overnight success. We're nationwide in the United States, around 300,000 people using the app to get their grass cut.
So, couple interesting things there. Number one, people always forget it's 10 years to overnight success. More importantly, you said it was harder than you thought it was going to be. What made it so difficult?
There were several things that caught me off guard. And you might think, well, the technology side of it, of course, that was hard. I didn't know how to code, didn't know how to build software, didn't know how to design software. But those things can be learned. And eventually that's what we did. We taught ourselves how to build software, how to code. So those are things you can overcome. But what I didn't anticipate was that there's a very big difference between running a business, a traditional business, a construction company, a landscaping business, a dry cleaner, a restaurant, you name it. Those are hard. It's hard to run a business, a successful one. But it's actually 10 times harder to invent something brand new from scratch that does not exist. Inventing a new product or service is also a business. You're trying to build a business, but you're also inventing something brand new. People don't know about it. People don't know that they can solve their problem with it. And they don't know it exists. And so all of these things make it 10 times harder. There's no roadmap. It's just going from failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm, and just trial and error and learning and trying to figure out what the recipe is to make it work. And that was a lot harder. And I didn't anticipate that, didn't know that.
And I could see that very much being so. I mean, today, I think everyone thinks of, I just use an app and I order my food, or I order a car, or a Airbnb or whatever it is. But you go back to 2014, that was not the norm.
Yeah, it very much wasn't. And still kind of, we're still kind of in that transition. So where we're at with home services and landscaping services and things like that is kind of where food delivery was in 2009 or 10. In 2010, if you wanted Chinese food, you would probably call around to the Chinese restaurants around you and just call in the order and they deliver it to you. You maybe could use Grubhub, but that was an imperfect experience and not consistent. And so, but there were online ordering options. That's kind of where home services is today in 2023. If you want a landscaping service or a pressure washing service or a pool guy or a roofer, you're probably still going to do it the old way. You're going to ask friends and family for recommendations. You're going to maybe go do a Google search and dial for dollars and poll these people, but you're not going to look for the DoorDash way to do it or the Instacart or the Uber way to do it. And so we're still very much in the middle of educating people that, hey, there's no reason to call all over town. You can just download an app and get it done that way. And so it's getting easier today, 10 years in, but was super hard in the early days because nobody was thinking about doing any of these things online. So the wind has been at our back, but it's still a challenge to get the product in the hands of people that need it when they want it and getting that awareness around it. There's a saying that first-time founders worry about product and second-time founders worry about distribution. And so what they mean by that is the first time you try to do something like this, you obsess over the product and the solution and what the product looks like and how it works and what the interfaces are going to look like and all of these things. And then once you've done that before, and maybe you've had some success or you crashed and burned or you had a great success, whatever. If you try to do it again, you understand that the product and all of that is table stakes, and all you care about is distribution. It's how am I going to get people to find out about it? How am I going to get it marketed to people when they need it at a cost that the business can sustain? And if that's actually harder than building the product itself. And like bad distribution kills most startups, not bad product.
Basically, it's sales, right? Not being known to the market. And also, in your case, you had to show them a new way to do things, which is difficult. The reason I love real estate is I don't have to teach people that they need to live in a house. I just put up a for rent sign or a for sale sign, and they come flocking. And so I don't have to create a market. And depending on the products, some markets are crowded, some aren't. And then sometimes, to me, if I were going to try and create something new, I'd be looking for a pain point.
Yeah.
And if I could find a big pain point that people were willing to throw money at before I created a product.
Exactly.
Well, that's just golden. That's where I want to go running.
You got to figure out if you want to be in the business of selling vitamins or painkillers. And in most cases, selling a painkiller is going to be an easier ride. And you want to find like the pain where it's the knife in the stomach, but the knife is twisted. Like it has to be so much pain that they want your product, they want your solution. Otherwise, it's going to be a hard road.
It very much is. You know what? It's funny though. Even with pain, there are some things people are willing to pay for, and some things people aren't, even if they have the pain. And it's ironic to see it in certain spaces that they want it, they like it, but they're just not willing to pay money for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And one way that you can kind of overcome some of these things if you want to invent a new product is to be solving your own problem. Literally, like I was solving my own problem with starting GreenPal. I had ran a landscaping business for 15 years. So I knew kind of where the challenges were and what problems needed to be solved. So if you can bring that authenticity to the starting block, it can be a big competitive advantage. But what trips up a lot of new founders is they try to innovate in a space that they don't have any experience in. And so it's like they are building a product in search of a problem. And that makes it just really, really hard. And so you really want to have the problem first. You know it, you lived it, you breathed it. It's just a big problem, and you know how the product would solve that problem, and that people would be willing to pay for it. And then you can do what they call dog food your own product, which literally means build it for yourself, and you use it, and you are your first customer. That can help you save a lot of years wasted on building a product in search of a problem.
And I would bet most businesses or most founders they're focused on the product and not the problem, which is why they struggle so much to get off the ground. The one thing I've noticed is tech companies tend to be more data driven. How does data inform your ability to make decisions, and what type of data do you use?
Yeah, so in the early days, as you are kind of working your way through the kind of metaphorical levels of the video game, so to speak. So maybe level 1 of Super Mario Brothers is just like, I need 10 customers. I need 10 customers, put a credit card down. And then I can like learn from those 10 and try to turn it into 100. And then if I can get to 100, maybe level 2, metaphorically, I can get to maybe 1,000, and then so on. So you I think the first 100 sales needs to be ground and pound. It needs to be hand-to-hand combat. It needs to be you, like the phone number on the website needs to be your mobile number as the founder. Like the email coming out of the system needs to be like, go to your email inbox. You need to manually crank these. That's the data you're getting. That qualitative feedback from your first dozen customers. Then as time goes on, let's say you get 100, going on to 1,000 customers, you can use all kinds of data to now inform your decision making, whether it be where people are dropping off in the sign up process. It's like, okay, this is a big problem for us. It was for a long time was people would sign up for free quotes, and 75-80% of them would never hire one. And so then we would use that data and try to figure out, well, how can we turn that into at least 50%? And we spent years combing over the data and figuring out, okay, well, if we reorder the quotes in lowest to highest, does that have any effect? Okay, no, it didn't. Okay, if we take it from 5 quotes down to 2 and just make it the 2 best ones or the 2 cheapest ones, would that have any effect? Okay, that didn't really help either. Okay, if we showed the most reliable ones and didn't show the ones that weren't reliable, would that have an effect? Just going through and using the data to try to figure out where the leaks are in the process. And doing that thousands of times over and getting little 1% wins here and there is how those things begin to compound. And then you can use data to inform your decision making, but also combine that with what people are telling you, what customers are telling you, the qualitative data. I still do an hour a day, sometimes 2 or 3 hours a day of customer support. Even though we have 300,000 customers, I still jump into the customer support team at least an hour a day because I want to know what people are saying. I want to hear it for myself, because there's this weird gap that forms in every company. There's a gap, like there's founder logic and then there's customer logic. And the customer is looking at the problem from their perspective, and the founder is looking at the problem from his perspective or her perspective. And there's this weird gap between the two. And the only way to close that gap is just to talk to customers yourself. And so that's qualitative data and the quantitative data. You got to use both.
I don't think people realize the power of compounding and small changes and how it adds up over time, because that's literally what you're doing. The best companies are constantly optimizing little tweaks. Everyone's trying to hit grand slams. The companies that really succeed and grow are the ones that just constantly do the little changes over time. By the way, just out of curiosity, do you know how much $1 doubled for 31 days is?
It's amazing. Yeah, I don't know the number specifically, but it's in the millions.
So most people start with the penny, but we started with $1 because of inflation. And $1 doubled for 31 days comes out to a little over $1 billion.
Wow, that's incredible.
Right? And that's how you do it, though.
It's incredible.
One little tweak at a time. And I think that's the important kind of takeaway that people need to know is make the small changes, measure. And that's the other thing. You need to be able to measure, because all the things you thought were important, lowest price, best this, that, none of that seemed to matter so much. And it's until you try all these different things and you experiment and fail and you keep doing it. So congrats, by the way, for getting on the phone and for getting in the call centers and actually hearing what your clients are going through. I think the number one thing underlying that I think you dealt with was friction.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Friction people don't realize how much a little bit of friction prevents a massive amount of sales. So if you can eliminate friction, your sales can go through the roof, and you don't have to spend money. You have to spend time to figure it out and make it easier.
Yeah, the friction to do business with you, but also the friction to tell you when you suck. And like, don't make it hard, especially in the early days, for people to give you that feedback. You have to remove all the friction between your first 100 customers and you, and make it dead easy for them to tell you everywhere you're letting them down, and everything that they wish your business, your service would do for them that it's not doing, because you need that feedback as free R&D to figure out how to get to the next level. Even at 100,000 customers, we try to remove all the friction between the person using the app to get grass cutting and letting us know where we're coming up short. And that's just free R&D. It's not a pain in the butt customer that's annoying you. It's literally free R&D to figure out, okay, well, if I know if this person's mad about this one thing, if I probably have a 1,000 others that are mad at it too. And if I can solve that problem at the root cause, then it's those little things that will compound, that'll get us to 1 million users. Because these little fixes, you're right, don't add up. They compound over time. And that's the thing that is really hard to remind ourselves of, especially in the early days. That takes a while to get that snowball rolling, but man, once you can get it going, the numbers get big and the compounding gets big.
You know, I'm reading 10x is easier than 2x, and I think one of the things they said in there is, in order to be a lot better than your competitor, people make the misjudgment that I have to be 100% better. But what they actually said is, if you're only 10 or 20% better, that enough will actually compound your sales by a multitude of 10 or 20%. And so
Exactly.
We all try to do big when it's all the little stuff. I actually spent my whole morning trying to give feedback to companies, and it's very hard to give feedback to big companies. They put people that they don't give agency or empowerment to send feedback through. They just tell them, follow this script, and then they wonder why everybody leaves.
Yeah. I mean, I had an example of this just today myself. A vendor that we use, MailChimp, we've used them for 10 years, and we finally have switched to another provider. And I wanted to tell them everywhere they let us down, where they let us down. And like you just said, good luck. I mean, they recently sold to Intuit, I think, for like $10 billion. And so to your point, there was no way my feedback was going to get to anybody that mattered, even though I've been a customer for a decade. So that is funny how that happens in every big company. And you, as the founder, no matter what stage of the game, you want to make sure that doesn't happen, because that's what's going to cause the stall out or demise of your business.
So how do you make sure that your employees are on board and that they provide the feedback and that they listen and have empathy to the client?
Well, it starts with you as the founder. And there's really no way to fake that. You have to care. You really have to show that it's important. And so for me, the only way I know to do that is to still stay hands-on with a little bit of it. So like I said, I still do at least an hour a day. And then I still read over every review that gets written about our platform. There's at least 50 a day that come in from different channels. And so I stay as close to it as I can, and then I stay hands-on with the customer support team and let them know, okay, look, I was reading over, even though I have a head of customer support, I still go and read over scripts and calls and stuff, and I find where we're coming up short, and I don't let that fester. Like, hope is not a strategy for dealing with these things. I try to nip it in the bud the minute I see it, and it never ends. You, as the founder, are the purveyor of the customer experience and the protector of the culture, and these are levers that you have to pull and stay on top of, and the only way I know to deal with it is just with hard work. It's really hard to just delegate these things and just forget about them. You have to constantly be monitoring them, constantly care about it, and somewhere up the food chain, at, the business you were talking about or the business I was talking about, somewhere up the food chain, they don't care. And that's why it's not a priority.
And that is very true. Some organizations are worse than others when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, you have to delegate. But even though you delegate, you still need to verify. You still need to check in. You still need to have, your hand kind of on the metrics that can allow you to see what's truly going on. And people need to know you're involved. Otherwise, they don't care either.
That's right.
You've hired a lot of people, both in the trades, now in a tech business. How do you figure out the right people to bring on board? What are you looking for?
Yeah. So my first company was 150 people. And now my second one, I didn't want to build a business that big again. I wanted to keep it as small as possible, but effective. And so we're a little under 50 people now. And so in my first business, I was like more looking for bodies, literally anybody that could do the work and that would run our system. And that caused a lot of headache. That ultimately led to a moment where I was driving to my office and I didn't want to go there because there was a bunch of people that worked there that I didn't like, and a bunch of people that thought I was a jerk and I thought they were jerks. And I almost had like this victimized like mindset where I was like, man, this sucks. And why is it this way? And man, I hate this. And then I thought, you dummy, you built this. Like, this is you. This is a reflection of you. Your business is literally like a reflection of your attitude, your enthusiasm, this decisions you've made. And it always is. And it's always going to be your fault as a founder. And so that was a hard like learning process I had to go through, and slowly over time I was able to prune the organization and get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus. And it took a long time, and I wanted to make sure I didn't make that mistake again with my second business. And so we hire really slow. We only bring somebody. We have a lot of freelancers and contractors. And what we like to do is date before we get married. And so we like to work on like a project basis for a long time, like 6 months, a year, 2 years. And if that's going well and there's a good clicking, like working symbiotic relationship there, then we'll bring them in full time as an employee. But we do that very slow. And we look for people who, and everybody says this, but are good cultural fits. And what I mean by that is I had a chip on my shoulder when I started this business. I wanted to prove that I could build a big business, and there's something inside of me that wanted to do that, and the business was the vehicle to get there. Maybe it was because I wasn't picked for the soccer team in high school, or maybe it's because I didn't have a date to prom or something, or there's something going back to my childhood that has made me have a chip on my shoulder. And my business is the thing that I take pride in, and is the vehicle that's going to get me places in life. And I look for people that are like that also maybe somewhere along the line they develop that chip, and it's who they are, and they want to win. They want to be a part of something that's growing and prospering, and that's what I look for, because that's who I am, and that's kind of who my co-founders are, and it's really hard to find those good fits. And so if you can't, then just work with somebody on like a freelance basis until it's not working anymore, is how I deal with it now. And because I don't ever want to be driving to my office and not want to go there. And I'm going to continue to run this business as long as I'm having fun doing it. And I've had fun every day running it for the last 10 years. I want to protect that.
That was what we talked about in the last episode. If your business isn't fun, you need to make it fun, number one. And number two, it's your own fault, right?
Yeah.
The business is a reflection of you. So you've got to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I doing to make this happen? What can I do to fix it? And I appreciate you saying that, because I think that's an important point that people need to understand. Your business is a reflection of you. Your finances are a reflection of you. Your profitability is a reflection of you, what you value and how you behave within the business.
I believe that.
Since you're in tech, everyone always seems to think that social media is the solution to driving revenue, that if they're good on social media, they're going to get all this business. What have you found?
For us, it's not the case. We've done a lot of testing and a lot of experimentation on every channel, and I think in the early days, you're trying to find that engine of growth. And like I said, first-time founders worry about product. Second-time founders worry about distribution. What is the distribution innovation that you're going to bring to the market that's going to cause people to become aware of your product? And you need to focus at least half your time on that. And you can test social media. You can test creating content and putting it out through social media channels as one of those distribution methods. But if it just isn't working, if it's not causing more customers to call or sign up, then you need to move on to another channel like Google or even traditional channels like TV, media, print, or whatever it is. You need to test all of them, and you need to figure out where there is traction and then go all in on that one channel, because very rarely is any new business going to be good at more than one channel. And that's the way we've looked at it. We've tested the hell out of creating content for every channel out there, and doing paid marketing in Facebook and things like that. And the ROI just wasn't there. The only place where we got positive ROI was just straight up Google organic search. So, looking for a lawn mowing service in Lincoln, Nebraska, looking for a grass cutting business in Sacramento, looking for a landscaper in Atlanta, surfacing the content around what we do in those types of markets and phrases is how we get over half of our customers. And then the other half come from word of mouth. And that's the only thing we do. Now, we have a presence in every social media channel, just because when you get to, we're doing $30 million a year in revenue now. Once you've built a real business, you need to at least be there, because some people do check that. Like they'll say, yeah, I'm considering signing up for this, but I want to see what they look like on Facebook. But the reality is, do people find us just by going to Pinterest? No. They might check out our content there as a check, but it's not like a big growth driver for us.
And I think that's the key point. Social media is proof. And it's also, every time I want to look at a business, or I shouldn't say a business, but if I see these things pop up and they look fishy, the first thing I'm going to do is Google the name of the business and scam to see what pops up. And I think that's all people are doing. They're like, okay, I want to do business with these people. If I Google them, is it positive or negative? And does something pop up that makes me go, ooh, I don't want to be with them? So it's proof, but it's not the lead driver. And I think too often people make it the lead driver, and they don't realize that, hey, social media isn't going to make you rich. You got to, unless of course you're selling TikTok dance videos on TikTok, then, maybe that's the right place. But otherwise, for most business owners, that's not where you're going to necessarily drive a big portion of your revenue. And again, certain businesses do work, but for the majority of people, I don't think it does. And yet the majority want to look there.
Yeah, and probably waste a lot of time there, to be honest. Now, I mean, it's important to have it, that check mark checked, but don't throw all your weight into one social media channel and expect your business to take off.
True, and the same thing goes. In the beginning, you probably don't need a website. You probably don't need a business card.
You need 20, 30, 40, 50 customers, and you need to treat them like gold. And then learn how to build a business around that.
And therein lies the key. And I think that is the one step people don't like to take. Go out, find those 20 or 30 customers, sign them up, knock on doors, do whatever you need to make it happen. If people would like to learn more about you, your company, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, anybody that doesn't want to waste time cutting their own yard, just go to greenpal.com or download GreenPal in the App Store. Anybody wants to hit me up, just find me on Instagram, Bryan M. Clayton. I like to share my thoughts on building businesses and just travel and stuff like that there.
Cool. We'll put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Rocky. I enjoyed it.
Can I ask you a question? Do you have fun at your business? Is your culture and company atmosphere reflective of the way you want it to be? If not, what are you doing to change it? Because you're the owner, you're in charge. Do you still get your hands dirty and find the friction your clients are having doing business with you? I've heard someone talk on this subject, and I will be honest, it was shocking how the slightest bit of friction makes people go away. And the worst part is you don't even know. So if you're not testing that and understanding that, you really have to try your own systems and see how easy or how hard it is to do business with you. And at the end of the day, it's small changes that compound over time. This is not about making massive changes. Little things compound and bring about dramatic results, which is why you don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful and focus on the bottom line.
If you'd like for us to be a part of your profitability journey, we have different programs available ranging from do-it-yourself to one-on-one coaching. Our course, The Profit Blueprint, teaches you everything you need to know to transform your profitability. There are 3 different tiers ranging from DIY to done with you so that businesses of all sizes can get the support that's best. Join the waitlist in the show notes to get more information and be a part of the next cohort. If you want a done-for-you service, you can hire us as your chief profitability officers. We only work with a handful of clients, so they all get our full attention. We work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $10 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on our calendar for a good fit conversation to see if we're the right people to support you and how we can help you.
This episode of the Profit Answer Man podcast is brought to you by SMBpodcastnetwork.com. The network is a collection of podcasts and shows from around the internet which focus on bringing you interviews with amazing guests who share actionable advice, ideas, and information for small and medium-sized business owners and entrepreneurs. Visit www.smbpodcastnetwork.com to find more great shows and easily subscribe to be notified of new episodes. It's a great way to discover quality content. If you've discovered us via the network, then I hope you enjoy today's show and will consider subscribing directly so you never miss our episodes. Remember to check out my other podcast, Richer Soul, where we talk about how to live the ultimate life and be the best business owner you can be. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.